Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Wrestling Unlimited's Q&A number 31. Wow, I can't believe Mephi's already done a lot of these already. As you can tell, I'm not Matt Mephi. I am guest host Tyler Harper because Matt Mephi's a pal of mine, and I said, hey, give me this Q&A, and he's like, hey, you got it, jerk. He didn't call me a jerk. But anyway, so I put this out on Facebook. I asked you guys to give me a bunch of wrestling related questions. There was no certain topic, so anything goes. Got to admit, I'm cheating. I've got them all on a Google Doc here, and I already answered, just because I don't want my video to be a bunch of because then it'd be a Walter Main video. Sorry, Walter, had to. But nevertheless, you guys asked me a lot of good questions, so I'm excited to answer them. So here we go. We begin with Alec Costival. And this question is probably the only silly question I kept in here, but it's great. Why was Too Cool Too Cool? Was it their names? And the answer to that question is yes. Their names were Scotty Too Hottie and Grandmaster Sexay. You try not being cool with those names. So, good question. A more serious question from Alec. Most underrated WWE star today not in NXT? This was a tough question, because it's tough to kind of say what's underrated nowadays, especially with not the brand splits back. Like, pretty much everyone can be in focus again, at least a little bit. But I went with Big E, because I liked his singles work. I mean, yeah, his character work wasn't the strongest, really, because he didn't really have much of a character. But, like, his ring work is pretty solid. So if, God forbid, the New Day ever breaks up, because they are magical, but if they were to break up, I hope Big E gets the biggest singles push out of them, because, yeah, he can go, but he's got to stop doing that spear to the outside, though. There are a couple times where he does that, and it looks like death. That is not okay. That is not okay at all. So if E cleans up the spear, yeah, I'd say Big E's probably the most underrated guy on that roster. Buckshot Brian Culinary asks, thoughts on the Lesnar Goldberg rematch at Survivor Series? The match itself, I think, could be good. Because Lesnar obviously is still in great ring shape. Goldberg, I mean, I hope he's in at least decent shape. So I think the match itself can be good. My problem with it is that no one really has anything to gain from it. Like, if Lesnar wins, yeah, he'd be the guy who hasn't had a match in about 10 years, maybe more. If Goldberg wins, why are you building up Lesnar if he could be beat by a guy who has wrestled in over a decade? So, yeah. I mean, I get Goldberg's reasoning for having at least one more match. He wants his wife and son to see him in a wrestling ring, being cheered by all those people. I get that, but the fact that it's Brock and they're both kind of part-timers, neither one really has anything to gain. I get that they're trying to erase that god-awful WrestleMania 20 match, but yeah. So, if it's at least a good match, fine, but this is going to hurt both their characters no matter what. Francesco Bruno asked, who do you think will be inducted into the Hall of Fame next year? I put down a couple different names, only because WWE can be so picky with the Hall of Fame. I think the one that's most likely might be The Rock, because one, he's the top paid movie star in the world right now, so why wouldn't WWE want in on that? Plus, they're in Florida. I know they're not in Miami, but I figure they'll try for the home state thing like they've done before. That and like a couple other of these names are high headliners too, because like I know there's all the rumors of them physically opening a Hall of Fame, like an actual like museum you can go check out like with other sports. And if that's the case, I think you're gonna want a big name to draw that. So yeah, so I've got The Rock, maybe Taker, who we'll talk about in a little bit. Maybe Owen Hart. I know obviously there's tension there between the Hart family and Vince, but the dude's going to be a Hall of Famer eventually, so hopefully that happens soon. And I also said Lemmy for the celebrity wing because Yeah, why hasn't that happened already? I mean, obviously, him and Triple H were tight as tight could be, so yeah, hopefully Lemmy gets in soon. Alright, Matthew Mullins. Like I said, speaking of The Undertaker, will this be Undertaker's last WrestleMania / match? I'm gonna hesitantly say yes. Because last year, I said the same thing, and obviously I'm being proven wrong, because Taker is at least gonna be on SmackDown this week. So who knows if he wrestles at WrestleMania this year, if it'll be his last match. I kind of hope so at this point, because like even though he looks like he could be in great shape and he only wrestles one match a year, I don't know. I mean, I think there comes a time where like you gotta hang it up, and plus like the streak's over, so I don't know. I mean, if he does wrestle for a few more years, I won't complain because he's the Undertaker and he's one of the best superstars of all time. But it, I don't know. It's tricky for me. So, yeah, good question, Mullins. And Matt Mullins also asked, who do I see winning the 2017 Royal Rumble? I have two favorites here. Um, I don't know if they'll be my pick come January, come the Royal Rumble, but the two I have picked out are The Miz and John Cena. Now, I know what you're thinking. John Cena, why? He's chasing down Flair's record. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, hell, even if he enters early at like 4 or 5 and wins the whole thing just to chase down Flair's record, because that would be a big moment. And I know, think what you will about John Cena, but obviously WWE's pretty high on him. So guess what? They're going to do what they want with him, no questions asked. As for The Miz, I think this will be my more popular choice. Um, God, I just hope after this feud with Ziggler, Miz continues his momentum and can at least be in the world title picture in some way, shape, or form. Because god damn, the Miz's IC title run that this last go around was great. Like, people can like crap on the Miz all they want. Like, he's a hard worker there. He's a top tier both character and honestly, his in ring work is not terrible. Like, it's gotten a lot better than where it was. So if Miz won the Rumble and became like main event star, I wouldn't hate it. All right, Matt Meffy. Here we. Oh wait, no. Let's go Dylan Messerschmidt first. New Day versus Naito, Evil, and Bushi. How bad did the New Day get beaten? Well, they get beaten real bad because Los Ingobernables de Japón. Yeah, they're legit. They're the real thing. They beat the crap out of New Day. All right, Matt Meffy. Here we go. Buckle in, folks. Meffy asked a lot of questions for me, which I told him to, so I'm happy. Going off of Undertaker, Undertaker's greatest rival. Yeah, Shawn Michaels. Um, just based on their WrestleMania matches alone, but the fact that like those two like their careers are obviously both great, but then like when they came together, even like in Shawn's first run, when they came together for Hell in a Cell, like there was just chemistry there. Like those two, they could tell a story. So like yeah, and of course, obviously, both of their Mania matches are two of the best matches ever. Just on storytelling alone, and the fact that they were two men in their 40s putting on 5-star matches at WrestleMania in the main event. Like, that's a masterclass for anyone who wants to be a wrestler. Greatest non WrestleMania Taker match. I have two answers for this, both of which are Hell in a Cell matches. First, King of the Ring against Foley. Obviously, not necessarily because of ring work, but just because, like, that's one of the most influential matches ever. Period. Bar none. Just because, obviously, mainly because of Mick Foley, but, like, Taker obviously was part of that equation, too. The fact that he just kept pounding Foley. Foley just wouldn't stay down. It was beautifully executed by both men. And another Hell in a Cell match, No Mercy 2002 against Brock Lesnar, which I know is Alex Costafel's, if not his favorite match of all time, one of them. This match is brutal from start to finish. Both men took just an absurd beating. Paul Heyman even got busted open. It was brutal, gnarly, an amazing match. Might be one of the best Hell in a Cell matches ever. But yeah, so I put that up there. Worst Undertaker match other than Mania versus Giant Gonzalez. I'm going with another Undertaker Mania match, 19 against Big Show and A-Train. Not really much of a story there. Nathan Jones was supposed to be in it, got pulled, then came out at the end anyway. Hit a weird high kick on, I believe it was Big Show to knock him out. Yeah, it wasn't that great. So, like, yeah. On an otherwise stellar show, yeah, that it kept him undefeated, but whatever. Should all of WWE's Big Four pay-per-views be held in big stadiums? I'm gonna say no. Because WrestleMania has that name draw. Survivor Series, like SummerSlam, yeah, maybe, but like that and like time of year depends too. Because like Royal Rumble, like yeah, if you could find an indoor dome somewhere, I guess maybe it'll draw. Like I'm anxious to see how it'll do in the Alamo Dome, but like Survivor Series, I don't think so. Like WrestleMania, you know it can draw that, so I think you stick to your guns. Plus, they had like SummerSlam access for a few years, but then they got rid of it because it wasn't really doing so well. So I think because of that, you keep Mania the way it is. You keep access. The other pay-per-views, let them roll as is. Should WWE do NXT shows in big stadiums, or is it too risky? No, stay the course with what you're doing with NXT right now because like it's tough to like is it like minor leagues or is it its own brand? But like I saw NXT in Philly not in like a big arena but in the Tower Theater. The ring was on the stage. It was awesome. It was such a cool setup and the building was packed to the brim, loud the entire night. Like yeah, like obviously come WrestleMania weekend and like take over Brooklyn and all that have them do at least bigger arenas. But for the most part, yeah, just keep them where they are cuz like they're still going to draw crowds. They're still going to be one of the most popular things WWE puts out, so keep NXT the way it is. Should WWE bring back Brawl for All since it was such an awesome concept? One, I don't know if this is a troll question or not. I found it kind of funny. But I'm going to say no, because, I mean, UFC is a thing. If WWE does it now, like, they could say, oh, we did this before all they want. It's just going to look like WWE's trying to be either UFC or boxing. So, like, I don't think it would look good at this point. It might be cool, but, like, nah, I don't see it. WWE show that you were excited for that let you down. Survivor Series 2015. The semifinals and finals of that tournament were supposed to be so cool. Like, that was going to be such a fun concept, but, like... And, like, the two semifinal matches were both great, but then the finals match felt rushed, and then Sheamus cashed in. That and, oh yeah, remember that Brothers of Destruction versus Wyatt squash match? When Wyatt had all of their powers, but then the brothers just had him back? Yeah, that just sucked. Show that you were not excited for from WWE that turned out to be a good show. I had to rack my brain a little bit for this one. But I'll say Backlash from this year. Because it was a pretty solid show from start to finish. And it was the first pay-per-view after the brand split. So that had a lot of people nervous. I wasn't expecting it to be bad, but I was very, like, treading with caution about it. But hey, it turned out to be a pretty solid show, and I think so far that's been the best brand split show, so, at least so far. Who knows what could happen. Do you see Braun Strowman being a future world champ, or is he Kozlov 2.0? One, I don't like that you gave me those two extremes, because either I'm really high on him or really not. And my answer, I think it's still too early to tell. I think you gotta give him some legitimate feuds before you can say whether or not, oh hey, like, he's great, or oh, he sucks, you know what I mean? Because up until this point, he's been squashing jobbers, and he beat Sami Zayn. Or did he? I don't even remember how that match ended. But yeah, I think, I definitely think that, you gotta, jury's still out on Braun Strowman. You gotta see. 3 big money matches I want to see at Mania this year. 1, Triple H versus Seth Rollins, which I think is obviously what they're going towards, because of the whole student versus master concept. Yes, I like it. Number 2, and this one is a little bit of fantasy booking, but like I think it'll happen. At least I hope. Rusev versus a returning Kurt Angle. I'm hoping Kurt Angle returns at the Rumble. I'm hoping he gets into it with Rusev, and I'm hoping that they have a Mania match because that will be fun. Because Kurt Angle deserves at least one more, at least somewhat run in WWE. It doesn't have to be champion or anything, but like if he enters the Rumble and that music hits, especially if Rusev just cleans house in the ring, it is on and it is going to be awesome. And finally, even though it's a few years too late, Cena versus Undertaker. If this is Taker's last WrestleMania, if it's his last match, I think it's got to be him versus Cena, and it's got to be the main event. I know, the streak's not on the line anymore, but I still think that'll be a fun match. And I think Cena goes over, but I mean, Taker's old school. He's going to go out on his back. So, yeah. Alright, now it's time for another portion of Mephi's thing. It's Hire, Fire, and Make Champion. Mephi spammed me with these, so we're starting with Luke Harper, Samoa Joe, and Brock Lesnar. An interesting combination. But I fired Luke Harper because, unfortunately, he was the one to fall here. I love Luke Harper, but sorry. Hire Brock, and I make Joe champion. Why? Brock is a part-timer, so we did that whole experiment with Brock as champion. Plus, Brock doesn't really have anything to gain from being champion. So, yeah. Next up, and I hate him for this one, Primo, Sin Cara, and Kalisto. That's to my friend Matt Mephi. Yeah, so I fire Primo because, yeah, I hate the Shining Stars. I hire Sin Cara because despite backstage incidents, he's actually been putting on decent work in the Cruiserweight division. And I make Kalisto champion because I'm upset that Kalisto's United States title run was as short as it was. Because guess what? His matches with Ryback were pretty good. So yeah, I think if you could build Kalisto up again, why not? He's great. Plus the Selena Del Sol is an awesome move. Alright, next. Baron Corbin, Apollo Crews, and Braun Strowman. I fire Braun Strowman because he's green. I know I just said the jury's still out on him, but he's the one to fall here. I hire Baron Corbin because the Deep Six and the End of Days are so cool. And I make Apollo Crews champion because I know people haven't been impressed with Apollo Crews in WWE right now, and I agree. But if they let him be like his full potential, like guys, do me a favor if you haven't, go on YouTube and look up Best of Wuhan Nation and thank me later. Like, because that's the dude's an incredible athlete. Alright, next. Kane, Big Show, and Eric Rowan. Firing Eric Rowan, hiring Kane, and making Big Show champion. Because Big Show was the most successful of those three, and if you gave him one last title run, it wouldn't hurt. Even if it was a mid-card title. And the last one, HBK, Triple H, and Cena. I fired Triple H. I know that's weird. I know people would fire Cena there, but there's something about politicking with Triple H that just kind of bothers me a little bit. And I know Cena's been guilty of that too, but yeah, I'm going to hire Cena, and obviously, he's one of the greatest of all time. I'm making HBK champion. Francesco Bruno, again, most extreme pro wrestling match. WWE Hell in a Cell. Easy. Because, I mean, like, especially when guys go crazy, go on the cell, make themselves bloody with it, it's scary. And it's obviously Mick Foley jumped off it, so, you know, that's frightening. Non-WWE, Cage of Death. Go look it up. It's CCW. It's gnarly. Angel Ernest, and Angel asked a lot of questions. How many live shows have you been to? I've been to about 6. Like, that's including, like, random indie shows, ROH, WWE, NXT, so about 6 or 7. Favorite thing about wrestling? I love the theatrics and the storytelling of it as well as the characters. Like, it's such a cool, like, blend of everything. Like, Xavier Woods once said that, to someone who said to him on Twitter that wrestling is fake, he replied saying, like, no, he's like, wrestling's the closest thing we have to theater in the round nowadays, and that's really true. Because not only is there fighting, but there's also storytelling, characters that make us laugh, characters that we're hopeful for. So because of that, yeah. Favorite promotion? Uh, Currently, it's a tie between Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Ring of Honor. Like, those companies, and I'm not as into New Japan, but, like, yeah, like, it's Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Ring of Honor. Those companies, at this point, they could do no wrong right now. Like, all the pay-per-views I've watched of them recently, like, are just perfecto. All-time favorite in WWE, it's The Rock. Um, Ever since I was little, when I started watching, The Rock was who I was drawn to, because when he got on that microphone, when he was in the middle of that ring and everyone was chanting his name, to me, no one could touch him. No. And, like, I know Austin's obviously up there, and Austin was the bigger star, but yeah, like, to me, it was always The Rock. Just, I know he wasn't the most sharp technician in the ring. Lord knows I cringe every time he locks in that sharpshooter, but yeah, Rocky's always my number one. Who do you dislike? This was a tough question. I went with Mojo Rawley because despite the fact that I've said he's gotten better before, and I agree with that, I don't know. Something about it just, I think Zack Ryder could do better without him. How about that, Angel? All right. Favorite pay-per-view to watch besides Mania? I gave two answers here because one of them isn't a pay-per-view before. Isn't a pay-per-view anymore. First, Royal Rumble, because that match itself, when done right, can tell so many stories. Obviously, the big returns, the big triumph stories. Like, the Royal Rumble's such a cool thing. Like, casual fans can watch the Royal Rumble and be interested. That and, like I said, it's not a pay-per-view anymore, but, King of the Ring. Uh, I always enjoyed King of the Ring. I know it was designed mainly to give someone a push, but, like, King of the Ring was always cool, and especially when they put in some upsets, too. Like, that's the thing with, like, wrestling tournaments. Like, you'll have me hooked when you put in upsets, and you're like, wow, there's a Cinderella there. So, yeah, definitely King of the Ring as well. How old were you when you started wrestling? I was about 5 years old when I was in kindergarten, first grade, and I saw The Rock on the screen. Like, I was glued, and until The Rock stopped talking, I didn't say a word because it was just magical. Why did you watch wrestling? I kind of explained that earlier. Just like all these characters, and like I just found it on TV. Like I think my parents were kind of watching at the time, but not really. Like, but they noticed I started to pick up on it, and they were like, "Okay, we'll continue watching this. Why not?" Um, which wrestlers have you met? There's been a couple. I've told many of my friends before that I got to interview Dolph Ziggler, Apollo Crews, and Becky Lynch. All very nice people. Um, all lots of fun to talk to. I've met Sanjay Dutt. He was a cool guy. I've met some guys from CZW who were really cool. Like, super nice guys for being in a Blood and Guts promotion. All right. Walter Main asked, and I think this is my question of the night. Fatal 4-way with someone from WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, and British Wrestling. Walter Main, this was a brilliant question. That and 3/4 of it are Bullet Club. So for WWE, AJ Styles. He's one of the best in the world today, bar none. New Japan, well, it's got to be the cleaner Kenny Omega. He's on a roll right now, and I think come Wrestle Kingdom, he becomes IWGP World Champ. ROH, Adam Cole, baby. Because I know people can say he's overrated, but like just as a showman and with his technician skills, he's top of the line right now. And for British wrestling, even though he's about to be ROH exclusive, I gotta go with the villain Marty Scurll. Like, Ospreay's great, but Scurll's character work is just fantastic. Like, when he gets to WWE, and it's not if, it's when, I think he's going to be a megastar. At least I hope he can be a megastar in that environment, because with the way he's got momentum right now, especially considering he won Bola, yeah, it's going to be hard to derail his momentum. Finally, we've got Dylan Rumor, who gave me a good amount of pushberry fire. So first, Ricochet, Will Ospreay, and Zack Sabre Jr. I would fire Sabre Jr. And that's tough, but I'm sorry, like, he needs more character than, oh, I'm gonna bend your arm out of its socket. I would bury Will Ospreay and I would push Ricochet, because Ricochet, not only can he do all the flippy stuff, but he is so strong too. He is jacked. That, and The Rock posted a huge Instagram post praising him, so yeah, I'd push Ricochet. Marty Scurll, Tommy End, and Eric Young. Well, I'd fire Eric Young, I'd bury Tommy End, and I would push Marty Scurll to the moon, because again, that guy's character combined with his ability, no one can touch him. Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and AJ Styles. I'd fire Seth Rollins, I'd bury Kevin Owens, and I would push AJ Styles. These hurt, man. And I know he's doing this out of revenge to me because I gave him a tough one, but yeah, that's hard. Chris Hero, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn. Wow. I would. I think I'd fire Chris Hero. I think I'd bury Sami Zayn, and I'd push Cesaro, because it's about time Cesaro got that big main push. We've been waiting for it for years, WWE. Come on now. Finally, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roddy Strong. I hate you for this, because you know Roddy Strong is my boy. I hate that I'm doing this. I'm firing Kyle O'Reilly. I'm firing Kyle, I'm burying Adam Cole, and I am pushing my boy, Roddy Strong. And lastly, Mr. Dylan Rumor asked, how great is Chuck Taylor's commentary? It's amazing. For those of you who haven't watched, go look up PWG shows and listen when Chuck Taylor's on commentary. He's hilarious. He can actually have some very insightful points too, but for the most part, it's just him laughing and making nonsense, and it's beautiful. It makes the experience that much more enjoyable. All right, so that's my Q&A. Thank you to all of you guys out there, and hopefully I do more of these from Effie soon, maybe with some themes. So yeah, take care, guys.